Welcome, the Lord's chosen. You're not crazy. You're just picking up on things other people are trying very hard not to notice. Lately, your intuition has been acting like it drank 3 espresso shots and refused to sit down. You think of someone and they text. You get a weird feeling about a harmless person, and weeks later their mask drops exactly the way your gut predicted. You walk into a room and instantly know who's faking confidence, who's secretly angry, and who's one inconvenience away from a full emotional meltdown. And here's the wild part. Researchers say your brain processes up to 11 million bits of information per second, but your conscious mind only catches about 40 of them. The rest? That's where your so-called gut feelings live. Quietly collecting data your logic is too slow, too polite, or too conditioned to see. So when people laugh it off and say, "You overthink too much," what they really mean is, "I don't want to see what you're seeing because then I might have to change." Your intuition isn't some floating spiritual gimmick. It's your life's receipts stacked into a high-speed detection system. Every betrayal, every red flag you ignored, every weird vibe you shrugged off, they all trained this version of you. You didn't wake up chosen. You survived enough nonsense to graduate into it. Now people are talking. They notice how you clock energy before words, how you pull back from certain people without a dramatic explanation, how you say, "Something's off," in that calm tone that later turns into, "Wow, you were right." They joke that you're psychic, a mind reader, or low-key terrifying, and they're only half kidding. Your intuition is exposing too much. Fake apologies, hidden agendas, friendships built on convenience, relationships built on performance. And the more accurate you get, the more uncomfortable some folks feel. They can't quite put their finger on it, but around you they feel seen. Not the filtered online version of themselves. No, the raw, unedited one they try to bury under jokes, work, aesthetics, and "I'm fine." Your presence starts to feel like an audit. You're not attacking anyone. You're not even saying much. But your energy keeps highlighting every place they're lying to themselves. That's why whispers start. You've changed. You think you know everything now. She's too deep. He's so suspicious of everyone. Translation. Your intuition has stopped working for their comfort and started working for your peace. In this video, we're going to pull back the curtain on what's really happening when your intuition is on fire and people can't stop talking about it, from the unspoken tension it creates to the smear, the distance, the fascination, and the low-key fear. We'll break down why you sense things before they happen, why your presence makes certain people glitch, and why this season of your life feels both lonelier and more aligned than ever. So if you've been feeling too much, too intense, or too aware, stay right here. You're not losing your mind, you're just finally listening to it. Number 1, your intuition isn't gifted. It's the scar tissue of everything you've survived. People love to say you're so gifted, your intuition is amazing, as if you got it in a cute little box with a bow on top. The truth is far less glamorous. Your intuition didn't fall from the sky. It was built, layer by layer, out of every time you were lied to and didn't see it coming. Every time you trusted the wrong person. Every time you felt something was off, but talked yourself out of it to keep the peace. You didn't become sharp because life was kind. You became sharp because life forced you to grow eyes in places you didn't even know you had. You learned to pay attention to the things other people ignore, the pause before someone answers, the slight shift in their tone, the way their words say one thing, but their energy says something completely different. While other people heard conversations, you started hearing contradictions. While they saw a nice person, you started noticing patterns. Your intuition is basically your history talking. It remembers the friend who swore they had your back, then disappeared the moment you needed them. It remembers the partner whose "I love you" never matched their actions. It remembers how you felt in your body right before everything went left. That tight chest, that heavy gut, that weird uneasiness that made no logical sense at the time, but later turned out to be the only honest signal in the whole situation. So when people now act shocked at how accurate you are, they're only seeing the end result. They don't see the nights you replayed conversations in your head, wondering how you missed the signs. They don't see the way you blamed yourself, thinking you were stupid for trusting, when really you were just untrained. Now you're trained. Now your scar tissue is turned into data, perception, and pattern recognition. You don't just feel things, you recognize them. Your intuition isn't a mysterious power. It's the wisdom born from pain you never got credit for surviving. Number 2, you don't just read people. You read what they're trying to hide from themselves. Most people only see what's on the surface. They hear words, see outfits, notice attitudes, and stop there. You don't. Your intuition doesn't stop at what someone is saying. It slides underneath into the things they don't want to admit, even to themselves. When someone says, "I'm fine, it's not that deep," everyone else takes it at face value. You hear, "I'm hurting and I don't have the courage, language, or safety to admit it yet." You pick up on the way their eyes dull when a certain topic comes up, how their voice gets just a little tighter when they say, "I don't care," how they jump to change the subject anytime the conversation gets too real. You notice the overcompensation, the loud confidence that's actually protecting a fragile ego, the fake chill persona that's actually built on fear of rejection, the constant jokes that keep you from looking too closely at their sadness. Your intuition doesn't just clock liars, it clocks denial. It sees the friend who hates drama, but is always in the middle of it. It sees the person who swears they're over their ex, but still tells the same stories with too much emotion in their voice. It sees the one who claims they don't need anyone, but secretly clings to any crumbs of attention. You don't just think they're lying, you think they don't even know they're lying to themselves. That's why some people feel oddly uncomfortable around you. They can sense that you don't buy the polished version of their story. You're not hypnotized by titles, status, or aesthetics. You're tuned into tone, energy, contradiction, and emotional gaps. Even when you stay silent, they feel exposed, like you can see the part of them they're working overtime to cover up with busyness, fake positivity, or a tough act. Your presence has a way of bringing truth to the surface, not because you call everyone out, but because your energy doesn't agree with pretending. And deep down, people know, if they stay around you long enough, they might have to face the very parts of themselves they've spent years trying not to look at. Number 3, your bad vibes aren't negativity. They're early detection of slow-moving disasters. When your gut tightens, your chest feels heavy, or a chill runs down your spine, it's not paranoia or overthinking. It's your body and mind picking up on patterns, signals, and mismatches that your conscious brain hasn't fully processed yet. While everyone else dismisses the little alarms as silly feelings, your intuition is quietly scanning the room, the situation, and the people for hidden problems. It's like having a radar for emotional landmines and energy shifts that nobody else bothers to notice. Every minor discomfort you've ever ignored, every uneasy thought you brushed aside, has trained you to notice things that escape most people. The micro-expressions, the hesitation in speech, the tiny inconsistencies between what someone says and what their body does. All of it is data your intuition reads instantly. Those bad vibes you feel aren't drama. They're warnings. They're signals that something is misaligned, something will go wrong, or that someone is masking their true intentions. The difference between you and most people is that you don't wait until disaster strikes to react. You notice the red flags early, And even if you can't explain why, you act accordingly. You start creating distance, observing silently, or protecting yourself without needing validation. That's why people call you suspicious or too sensitive. They confuse awareness with overreaction. They haven't trained themselves to process subtle cues or track patterns like you have. Your intuition doesn't just predict disasters. It saves you energy, time, and heartache. Every time you step back from a situation that felt off, every time you avoid a person who seemed charming but carried hidden toxicity, your gut has already done the heavy lifting. It has filtered out the potential chaos before it even reached your doorstep. Those bad vibes, once ignored, now guide your life. They protect your peace, sharpen your judgment, and give you an unspoken advantage. While others stumble into the consequences of poor choices, you glide past them because your intuition didn't just notice the storm. It knew how to avoid it before it even formed. Number 4, your intuition makes manipulators deeply uncomfortable, and they will smear you first. Manipulators don't fear loud people, emotional people, or even aggressive people as much as they fear the quiet, observant one who doesn't swallow everything at face value. That's you. You may not scream, you may not expose them on the spot, but you notice. You pick up on the way their stories never fully line up, how they're a victim in every narrative, how they only show kindness when it benefits them, how their jokes always cut a little too close to the bone. People who live on lies and half-truths can't relax around someone like that. Around you, they feel naked. Their charm doesn't land the same. Their guilt trips don't latch onto you. Their emotional manipulation doesn't work the way it does on others. You're not easily flattered. You're not easily guilted. And you don't fall for the "I'm just misunderstood" act. That makes you dangerous to their control. So they do what manipulators do best. They get ahead of the story. Before anyone else has a chance to notice how off they are, they turn you into the problem. They'll say you're paranoid, too intense, always reading into things, or creating drama where there is none. They'll roll their eyes when your name comes up, sigh deeply, and say things like, "I don't know what's wrong with them lately," just to plant seeds of doubt about you in other people's minds. This is strategic. They're not just venting, they're running a smear campaign. They know that if people trust your judgment, their act will eventually fall apart. So they attack your credibility first. If they can convince others that you're unstable, jealous, bitter, or impossible to please, then when you finally speak up, it's easy to dismiss you. That's just how they are. Their gossip isn't random. It's self-defense. It's an immune response to your clarity. Your intuition is like a light in a room they've kept dark for years, and instead of cleaning the mess, they'll try to break the bulb. The more you see through them, the more aggressively they try to rewrite your character. That's not a sign you're wrong. That's often the first sign you're right. Number 5, you're starting to realize your weird feelings were always data, not drama. For the longest time, you treated your own intuition like a messy, over-emotional friend who needed to calm down. You felt uneasy around someone, but told yourself, "I'm being unfair." You hesitated before saying yes to something, but pushed through because, "I don't want to seem difficult." You felt tension in your body, heard that quiet internal no, and still went along with what everyone else seemed comfortable with. Then later, when everything fell apart, you sat there replaying the moment you knew and ignored it. Those weird feelings you kept dismissing were never random. They were data. Your mind and body were collecting information faster than your conscious thoughts could keep up with. The change in someone's tone, the small lie they told that didn't match the story they gave last week, the way they avoided certain topics, the weird timing of an opportunity that looked good but felt heavy. All of that went into a silent calculation. You didn't have a neat explanation, so you called it overthinking or being dramatic. But your nervous system knew. It just couldn't send you a PowerPoint, so it sent you a feeling. Every time you went against that feeling, you paid for it. You stayed in friendships that slowly drained you. You stayed in relationships that eroded your self-worth. You signed up for situations that didn't respect you. You weren't just hurt, you were trained. Life kept handing you receipts in the form of "I knew it" moments. At first they felt like regret. Now they feel like education. That's why your intuition hits different now. When your gut reacts, it's not pulling opinions out of thin air. It's pulling from a deep archive of patterns, memories, and outcomes. You don't even consciously remember half of what you've seen, but your system does. So when something doesn't feel right, you're not being dramatic. You're processing the room, the person, and the situation on a level you can't fully put into words yet. You're finally starting to trust that. You're not waiting for proof that costs you your peace. You don't need someone to blatantly betray you before you honor the fact that your spirit is already uncomfortable. You're moving from "maybe I'm overreacting" to "if my body doesn't feel safe, that's enough." That shift is not you becoming cold. It's you stopping the habit of abandoning yourself. Your weird feelings were never the problem. Ignoring them was. Now, they're your filter, your shield, and your quiet superpower. Number 6. Your intuition is exposing how lazy most people are with their own self-awareness. You've started noticing it more clearly. Most people aren't paying attention to themselves nearly as much as you pay attention to everything around them. They think they're self-aware, but they're skimming the surface, barely noticing patterns in their own behavior, motives, or emotional triggers. They ignore the little things because it's easier to stay comfortable than face inconvenient truths. While you're analyzing, observing, and decoding energy, they're scrolling, nodding along, or rehearsing the same excuses they've been telling themselves for years. Your intuition operates on layers that most people haven't even started to explore. You notice the contradictions between someone's words and actions, the subtle emotional manipulations they think no one sees, the way their narrative consistently favors themselves. You recognize patterns in their behavior that they conveniently ignore, dismiss, or justify. Meanwhile, they're still living in denial, telling themselves everything is fine, or "I'm just stressed," never realizing they're repeating the same mistakes over and over. When you speak from that intuitive truth, it lands differently than you expect. To them, it feels intense, too sharp, or even threatening. You're essentially skipping 10 steps of denial they were planning to enjoy comfortably, forcing them to confront realities they've been avoiding. Your clarity isn't meant to punish them. It's just that your energy and perception have outgrown their tolerance for honesty. They can't handle it because it reflects not just their behavior, but their unwillingness to face themselves. This is where your advantage lies. You're operating on a level of awareness most people haven't built the emotional muscle to reach. Your insights aren't overreactions. They're the product of careful observation, pattern recognition, and inner listening. And while it can feel isolating when your clarity makes others uncomfortable, it's also a reminder that your intuition isn't broken. It's functioning perfectly. It shows you the gaps others choose to ignore and gives you the ability to act with precision and self-respect, while most are still stuck in the illusion of self-awareness. Number 7. People talk about you because your presence silently questions their entire lifestyle. You don't have to say a word. Your energy alone makes people squirm. Every choice you make, every boundary you set, every refusal to chase what doesn't serve you, quietly exposes the gaps in their own lives. When you walk away from drama, decline invitations that drain you, or detach from people and situations that feel off, you're holding up a mirror they aren't ready to face. They see in you what they've been too afraid or too lazy to admit about themselves. The parts where they settle, compromise, or ignore their own instincts just to feel comfortable or accepted. They label you with words like cold, distant, mysterious, or selfish. But those labels aren't about you. They're about their discomfort with being exposed. You're not doing anything unusual. You're just living according to your truth. And in doing so, you're highlighting the ways they betray themselves every single day. They cling to convenience, excuses, and half-hearted effort, while you move with integrity, clarity, and the discipline to honor your own peace first. Your presence doesn't scream, it whispers, and that whisper is loud enough to make people question their own choices. They notice how you don't tolerate nonsense, how you don't compromise your standards, how your silence carries more weight than their noise. Without confrontation, without judgment, without drama, you're still making a statement. You are, in essence, a walking contradiction to the way they live, and that's far more unsettling than any argument you could have. That's why they talk. Not because you're doing anything dramatic, but because simply existing in alignment with your own intuition highlights the cracks in their own lives. You're the reminder they didn't ask for, the evidence that the life they tolerate isn't the life they truly deserve. And that makes them uncomfortable enough to gossip, label, and overanalyze your every move, even when all you're doing is being unapologetically yourself. Number 8, your intuition is making you quieter, not because you're shy, but because you're done explaining what time will reveal. There was a time you would rush to explain every feeling you had. You'd overtalk your intuition, pile on reasons, examples, and receipts, just to prove you weren't overreacting. You'd warn people about someone's behavior, point out red flags, or say, something isn't right here, and then spend hours justifying why you felt that way. Most of the time, it didn't end with gratitude. It ended with you looking like the dramatic one, the negative one, or the always suspicious one. Now you've seen the pattern too many times. You've watched people ask for your opinion, then get annoyed when you give the version that doesn't match the fantasy in their head. You've seen them ignore your warnings, then come back days, months, or years later saying, you were right. You realize something important. A lot of people don't want truth. They want comfort dressed up as advice. They don't want a signal. They want a blessing on what they've already chosen. So your behavior shifted. These days, when your intuition flares, you might speak once, calmly, without drama. You say, I don't fully trust this, or something feels off, or I'd be careful with that. And then you step back. You don't chase them with reminders. You don't argue your insight into their belief system. You don't beg them to see what you see. You let them walk their path, even if you already sense the wall at the end of it. This isn't coldness, it's wisdom. You've accepted that your intuition is a personal security system, not a community announcement service. It was given to you to protect your peace, your energy, your future, not to drag people out of situations they're still emotionally committed to. If they choose the comfortable lie over your uncomfortable truth, that's their lesson, not your failure. And the funny part? Time always circles back. Situations unfold, masks slip, true colors come out. The same people who dismissed you eventually replay your words in their head like an echo they tried to mute. At this stage, you don't even need to say, I told you so. Life does it for you. Your silence has become powerful, not because you're scared to speak, but because you finally understand. Your intuition doesn't need everyone to believe it to be right. It just needs you to listen. Number 9. You're starting to see the energetic cost of ignoring your intuition, and you're unwilling to pay it anymore. For years you dismissed that quiet inner voice. You told yourself, I'm overthinking, or it's probably nothing, and carried on. Each time you paid a price, though you didn't always notice it immediately. Anxiety built quietly in your chest. Insomnia kept you tossing at night. Your muscles stayed tight. Your mind raced, and your emotions piled up like unattended clutter. Every ignored signal was like a tiny withdrawal from your own peace, a small but consistent leak from your energy reserves. Your body knew the truth long before your mind caught up. That subtle tension in your gut, the weight in your chest, the uneasy thought that wouldn't leave. Those were all your intuition waving red flags while you tried to reassure yourself. It wasn't being dramatic. It was being precise, trying to keep you safe, trying to prevent the drain that comes from ignoring warning signs until the consequences hit. The realization now is clear. Ignoring your intuition costs more than you're willing to spend. It costs your calm, your clarity, your energy, and your capacity to enjoy life. That's why listening to it now feels like relief. Even when the decision is uncomfortable, even when leaving a friend group, quitting a job, or cutting ties with someone hurts, there's an underlying exhale. Your nervous system relaxes because it finally knows you're choosing alignment over avoidance, protection over convenience. Honoring your gut doesn't make life painless. It makes life manageable. It stops the endless internal friction that comes from pushing down instincts and pretending everything is fine. Your intuition isn't a vague suggestion anymore. It's a built-in safeguard for your mental, emotional, and physical well-being. The moment you start respecting it consistently, the energetic drain reverses. You notice how much lighter you feel, how less reactive you become, and how much clearer your choices are. Painful decisions now bring clarity, not chaos, because your nervous system is finally allowed to settle. Ignoring your intuition was expensive. Listening to it, priceless. Number 10, your accuracy with people isn't magic. It's pattern memory plus emotional sobriety. What most people call intuition or having a sixth sense is really just your brain and heart taking detailed notes over years of experience. You notice patterns in the smallest things, the way someone talks about their ex, the repeated excuses they use when confronted, the subtle ways they dodge accountability, the energy they carry when someone says no, whether they're truly listening or just waiting for their turn to speak. You observe these behaviors without announcing it, without trying to memorize anything consciously, and your mind files it away like an internal database. Your intuition is sober. It doesn't get swept up in charm, potential, compliments, or promises that sound too good to be true. It doesn't care about the drama of what could be. It cares about the truth of what already is. That's why people often mistake you for being hard to impress or too cautious. They see your lack of immediate excitement or blind trust as a flaw, when in reality it's your inner radar filtering reality from fantasy. You're not dismissive, you're discerning. You've learned that emotional sobriety is just as important as observation. You've trained yourself not to fall for what someone says they are or what they claim they will do. Instead, you weigh it against what they've consistently shown through actions, patterns, and choices. That combination of pattern memory plus emotional sobriety gives you clarity and precision. So when your gut warns you about a person or a situation, it isn't guessing, it's calculating. It's taking every micro-repeat, every inconsistency, every red flag, and quietly saying, pay attention here. You're not trying to be right. You're trying to preserve your peace and avoid repeating past mistakes. That's why you don't fall for smoke and mirrors. You've trained yourself to see through them, and in doing so, your accuracy with people isn't mystical. It's inevitable. Number 11, people are whispering about your change because your intuition has quietly revoked their access. You didn't wake up one morning and post a dramatic speech about cutting people off. There was no big announcement, no meltdown, no public fallout. The shift was subtle. You just started replying a little slower. You stopped jumping to pick up every call. You stopped explaining yourself in long paragraphs to people who were never really listening. You started saying, I'm busy. And this time you meant busy, protecting your peace, not just your schedule. The truth is, you went from oversharing to observing. You pulled your energy back from people who treated your vulnerability like entertainment, advice like background noise, and your loyalty like something they were automatically entitled to. Your intuition had been warning you for a long time. This person drains you. This dynamic is uneven. This conversation always leaves you feeling smaller. For years you brushed it off. Now you don't. That energetic shift is louder than any argument. People who were benefiting from your confusion, your lack of boundaries, your constant availability, they feel the difference instantly. They don't have the same access to your emotions, your time, your secrets, or your energy. You're no longer staying on the phone for hours listening to the same drama on repeat. You're no longer volunteering to fix problems you didn't create. You're no longer offering your spirit like a 24/7 emotional support line. And suddenly, the labels start flying. You're acting different. You've changed. You're moving funny. You think you're better than everyone. They say you're distant, cold, or full of yourself now. But what they're really saying is, I'm not getting the old version of you that ignored their own needs to center mine. They're not mad that you changed. They're mad that the change no longer serves them. The truth is simple. You're finally listening to the voice that's been trying to protect you for years. The one that whispered, they don't pour into you the way you pour into them. The one that noticed how drained you felt after certain conversations. The one that knew your kindness was being treated like an endless resource. Your intuition didn't just tell you who people were. It told you who you no longer had to be for them. You didn't become arrogant. You became aligned. You didn't become heartless. You became selective. And if that looks like a problem to people who once fed off your unfiltered access, that's just confirmation. Your intuition revoked what they were never entitled to in the first place. Number 12. Your intuition is forcing you to confront your own toxic attachments too, not just other people's. It's one thing to notice that someone else is harmful, deceitful, or draining. That part feels obvious when your gut flags it. But the harder, quieter work is facing why you stayed in those situations in the first place. Your intuition doesn't just point out the snakes around you. It also shines a spotlight on the ways you've been complicit, the cravings and dependencies that kept you tethered to what hurt you. It's easy to say, I knew they were bad for me, and pat yourself on the back for noticing the warning signs. Harder to ask, why did I still want them? That question cuts deeper. It exposes the parts of yourself that were hungry for validation, desperate for belonging, addicted to attention, or secretly hoping someone else would fix what you felt incapable of handling alone. Your intuition drags you into honesty, showing you that you weren't just a victim. You were also giving consent to the cycle by ignoring your own discomfort, rationalizing behavior, and prioritizing short-term relief over long-term clarity. When you finally confront these patterns, it feels like a brutal kind of awakening. You see, every time you argued with your intuition, every time you silenced the voice telling you to walk away, every time you made excuses, because letting go felt too painful. Those were the moments your ego clung to its own version of safety, even when your soul knew better. That realization is ego death in its rawest form, understanding that your suffering wasn't just imposed by others, it was partially co-created by your own refusal to honor the truth within you. This level of honesty is uncomfortable, almost unbearable at first, but it's liberating. Once you stop fighting your intuition and start respecting it, you see the full picture. The toxicity wasn't only external, it was also in the patterns you tolerated. The moment you accept that, you reclaim your power. You stop co-signing behavior that drains you. You stop repeating cycles that numb you. Your intuition isn't just a detector for danger. It's a mirror showing you exactly where you need to evolve to protect yourself fully. Number 13. The more accurate your intuition becomes, the lonelier, but more peaceful, your life feels. There's a shift that happens when your intuition sharpens. You start seeing things for what they really are: relationships, situations, motives, and energies, and suddenly the world you once navigated comfortably feels smaller. You're not unpopular or disliked, you're selective. Not everyone can handle the level of honesty and clarity you now operate with. Rooms full of surface chatter, empty laughs, or performative gestures start to feel suffocating because your energy is no longer willing to fake enjoyment or pretend ignorance. Conversations that once passed the time now drain you. Friendships that were once convenient feel shallow. People who thrived on gossip, approval-seeking, or emotional drama lose their appeal because you no longer provide the fuel they feed on. You've developed a radar for authenticity, and it filters out anyone whose energy glitches the moment you speak your truth. That filter is lonely at first, but it's also life-changing. Fewer invites, fewer group chats, fewer casual hangouts don't feel like rejection. They feel like liberation. Your social circle shrinks, but it does so with intention. Every person who remains in your life is aligned with the honesty, respect, and emotional energy you now demand. You're no longer exhausting yourself trying to maintain appearances or smooth over misunderstandings that never mattered to anyone else anyway. That loneliness has a quiet reward: peace. There's space to think, feel, and act without the constant interference of misaligned energy. Your spirit expands into that calm, your boundaries solidify, and your ability to operate in alignment with your intuition strengthens. While it may feel isolating at times, the truth is that this phase of selective solitude is not emptiness, it's refinement. The sharper your intuition, the more you prioritize inner clarity over social quantity, and the more you realize that peace is worth far more than people who cannot meet you where you are. Number 14, your intuition is not here to make you special. It's here to make you responsible. It's tempting to treat your intuition like a crown, proof that you're different, deeper, more awake than everyone else. You pick up on lies, feel energy shifts, sense motives, and it's easy to slip into, "I see what they don't. I'm built different." But your intuition was never given to you so you could sit on a throne of "I knew it." It's not a trophy, it's an assignment. Being the chosen one isn't about people worshiping your insight or being in awe of how accurate you are. It's about what you do with that accuracy. Do you use it to silently judge people from a distance, scrolling through life feeling superior? Or do you use it to finally choose better for yourself? Your intuition is less about exposing others and more about exposing you to yourself. Your patterns, your cycles, your weak spots, your unhealed needs. You can weaponize it, spot everyone's flaws, call out hypocrisy, drag people for being fake, sit in the comfort of, "I'm not like them." But that doesn't evolve you, it just entertains your ego. Real power is when your intuition makes you change your own behavior, when it pushes you to set boundaries instead of just complaining, when it forces you to say no, walk away, raise your standards, and stop volunteering for situations that drain your soul. The real flex isn't predicting what's coming, it's refusing to keep repeating what already broke you. Your intuition has replayed enough pain for you to know better now. The patterns are clear, the signs aren't vague anymore. You feel the shift in your spirit when something doesn't align, and this time, instead of explaining it away, you act on it. That's responsibility. That's spiritual maturity. People are talking because they feel that shift. They can tell you're no longer available for the roles you used to play: the fixer, the savior, the emotional sponge, the one who always understands but rarely gets understood. You don't entertain half-love, half-truths, or half-effort anymore. You're not showing up where your soul feels disrespected, unseen, or used. On the outside, It might look like you're just acting different, but spiritually, it's the loudest announcement you've ever made. I'm done betraying myself. Your intuition didn't come to make you look powerful. It came to make you live powerfully, through choices, boundaries, and courage that your old self never had the strength to choose. Conclusion. Your intuition is not a fleeting feeling or a quirky trait. It's the culmination of every experience, every scar, and every lesson life forced you to learn. It's the quiet voice that kept whispering truths you were too afraid, too polite, or too hopeful to listen to. It's the guardian of your energy, the early warning system you can't afford to ignore, and the mirror reflecting not just the world around you, but the patterns inside yourself that demand change. From reading people's hidden motives to recognizing your own toxic attachments, from understanding that your weird feelings were always data to realizing the cost of ignoring your gut, intuition has been quietly shaping you into someone who cannot be deceived easily, by others or by yourself. Every shift you've made, every boundary you've enforced, every quiet withdrawal from chaos has not gone unnoticed. People feel it. They sense the difference in your energy, your clarity, your refusal to tolerate what once drained you. Some gossip, some judge, and some admire from a distance. But your path is no longer about satisfying their comfort. It's about honoring your truth, respecting your nervous system, and operating from alignment with your own integrity. Your presence alone has become a statement. You're no longer available for the roles you once played. You don't apologize for listening to yourself, and you no longer accept the world on terms that compromise your peace. That's why your intuition doesn't make you special. It makes you responsible. It equips you to navigate life with boundaries, awareness, and the courage to refuse what previously broke you. This journey isn't always easy. It can be lonely, uncomfortable, and even isolating. But the clarity, peace, and inner strength that come from trusting your intuition are unmatched. Every decision guided by it is a step toward freedom from repetition, chaos, and compromise. You're finally honoring the voice that has been protecting you all along, and in doing so, you're stepping into a version of yourself that is aligned, unshakable, and unapologetically aware. If you found value in this journey, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more insights that sharpen your awareness. Like this video if it resonated with your intuition. Leave a comment sharing your experiences or aha moments, and share it with someone who needs to start trusting their gut. Your energy and your awareness are too powerful to go unnoticed. Let's grow and awaken together. Stay blessed always.